Hello and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, I'm going to go through some guidelines that you can use in naming your variables. The first is a variable name should contain at least one alphabetical character. A variable name cannot start with a number. You can't name a variable name, say 1, 2, 3, 4 or 4, 5 and then a letter. You can't do that. The next, a variable name should not or must not contain spaces. So if you have variable names that are made up of one or more words, you cannot leave spaces between the words. When naming variables, you cannot use reserved keywords. So there are some keywords that are used by the C# programming language and they are also used by the C# compiler. You cannot use those as variable names. I will show you a list of some of the keywords shortly. Your variable names should not contain non-alphanumeric characters other than a dash and an underscore. So you can't use non-alphanumeric. However, you can use a dash and an underscore. So this is some information from the Microsoft MSDN site and is relating to the C# keywords. If here on the first line here, it tells you keywords are predefined. They are predefined. They are reserved identifiers that have special meaning to the compiler. So you can't use them. They cannot be used as an identifier in your program unless they include the at as a prefix. For example, at if a valid identifier, but if not, because if is a keyword. So these are some guidelines. You can go through it at your own convenience. So that's the link there. Or you can type in C# keywords in your search engine and it should give you some more information. So let me just browse through so you can see. It tells you here that the first table, this first table here, is a list of keywords that are reserved identifier. Identifier means you use it to identify something. The identifiers in any part of the program. So this is the first table. So these words you can't use. You can't call your variable, for example, abstract, as, base, bool, char, class, if, go to, for each, in, and so on. So you can't, if you try, your Visual Studio will complain. You will have a red squiggly line underneath and it will not go for it. It won't bite. So you can't use it. It won't let you use it anyway. So these are just go through them. So you can't use any of these. So when you try to create a variable name and you get the red squiggly lines in your Visual Studio, just know that it's not happy. So again, this is the contextual keywords. Says a contextual keyword is used to provide a specific meaning in the code, but it is not a reserved keyword in C#. Some contextual keywords such as partial and where have special meaning in 2 or more contexts. So the key one really is this table here you need to focus on. Okay. All right. Let's go over. Let me open up the Visual Studio. Let's have a look and just try and see if we can use a variable name that is not allowed. All right, so this is some of the code we've used before in creating our first app. Say if I come here where we've got, I just tap down and say I wanted to create another variable and I want it to be a string. So I type in string followed by the word for. You can see the squiggly line because that is a reserved word. You notice it's turned blue. Okay, so most of these words in blue, you can't use them because they are all reserved. You notice it's turned blue. That means I can't use it. Okay, so let me try something else. I said you can't use a number. So if I try 1, name. Yep, notice it's not happy with that because you can't start a variable name with a number. Okay, so that's just some guidelines. So the Visual Studio will also give you a guide as to where you're going wrong. So if you're trying to create a variable with a name that's not allowed, you get those squiggly lines, and that should give you a clue. So that is it for this lecture in guidelines to how you name your variables. I hope it has been helpful. Thank you. Bye for now.